Thailand, the ultimate escape, the land of smiles, a promise of everything you can't find at home. It's the sizzle of Bangkok street food, the golden hush of ancient temples, the neon heartbeat of a full moon party. For decades, it's been a rite of passage. Millions arrive chasing freedom, living on a few dollars a day inside a tropical dream. White sands, turquoise water, the dangerous feeling that nothing bad can reach you here. By every definition, paradise. But in the Gulf of Thailand, there is a small island where the dream began to rot, where deaths were called accidents, where investigations dissolved, and where questions learned to sink instead of float. Welcome to Koh Tao, the backpackers' haven the locals whisper about by another name, Death Island. September 15th, 2014. The sun rises over Sirei Beach. The party is over. But between the rocks, the darkness remains. Two bodies, Hannah Witheridge, David Miller. Young, British, brutalized. This wasn't an accident. It was a bludgeoning. And what followed turned a tragedy into a farce. The crime scene was never sealed. Tourists wandered through the sand. Evidence was trampled. Then in full view of cameras, police washed the blood from the rocks before forensic teams had even arrived. The land of smiles stopped smiling. The Prime Minister demanded answers. The tourism industry, the island's lifeblood, began to hemorrhage. They didn't just need a killer, they needed a conclusion. Fast. 2 weeks later, they had one. Two Burmese migrant workers, Zalin, Phyo, outsiders, invisible, replaceable. They confessed, then they recanted. They said they were beaten, suffocated, threatened with electrocution, forced to sign papers they could not read. The DNA evidence was called questionable, the investigation archaic. They were sentenced to death anyway. The case was closed, but something had cracked. For the first time, the world wasn't looking at paradise. They were looking at a cover-up. The island didn't stop claiming lives. It just changed the paperwork. After the firestorm of 2014, murder became a dirty word, bad for business. So the language softened. Accident, suicide. New Year's Day 2015, Dimitri Povse, French, 29, found hanging from a balcony. A tragic suicide, the authorities said. But there was a problem. His hands were tied behind his back. Try to picture the choreography required to end your own life, while bound like a hostage. Then, 2017, Elise Dallemagne, the lizard case, found deep in the jungle, her body scavenged by monitor lizards. The police story, she hanged herself. Her mother's story, she was happy. She had booked a ticket, she was coming home. And this became the pattern. A body is found. Within 24 hours, before autopsies, before forensics, a verdict is issued. Suicide. Case closed. Families begged for investigations. They were given death certificates and silence. On Death Island, the dead don't just lose their lives, they lose the truth. Koh Tao isn't just an island, it's a fiefdom. Behind the neon signs and the bucket drinks, there is a shadow government. When something goes wrong, locals don't call the police, they call the families. A handful of powerful clans who own the land, the resorts, and the silence. A feudal system dressed up as a backpacker's paradise. And in this system, the police are not the enforcers. They are the cleanup crew. When the bodies began to pile up, the cameras began to fail. Literally. The island's most convenient technical glitch. Last sightings, final footsteps, moments that mattered. Swallowed by the CCTV black hole. The cameras work perfectly when tourists buy drinks. But when violence arrives, the screen goes dark. And if you try to turn the light back on, you become the problem. Journalists were threatened with lawsuits. Online investigators, like the CSILA page, chased with arrest warrants. On Koh Tao, asking questions is treated like a crime. But the deepest victims of this system aren't the tourists, they are the invisible ones. Burmese migrant workers, they build the resorts, they clean the rooms, they disappear into the walls. And when the powerful need a culprit, they fill the cells with them. On Koh Tao, justice has a hierarchy. The families at the top, the tourists in the middle, and the migrants at the bottom, waiting for the next time the island needs someone to blame. Today, Zalin and Phyo sit in Bangkwang Central Prison, once condemned to die, now serving life. In 2020, Thailand's king issued a royal decree commuting their death sentences to life imprisonment, an act of clemency under the country's laws, not an acquittal, not a reversal of their convictions. But the questions that shadow this case didn't disappear with the verdict. Critics, families, human rights observers, and legal experts called the investigation deeply flawed. They said the crime scene was mishandled, evidence was collected without proper safeguards, and crucial forensic procedures may have violated international standards. The defense argued DNA evidence was unreliable and the samples were never independently tested. The two men initially confessed, then said those statements were extracted under duress and without legal counsel present, raising alarms about coercion. Amnesty International and other rights groups called for transparent, impartial investigation into allegations of torture and intimidation. Doubts linger. Were the migrants scapegoats in a rushed case, cast into the machinery to protect tourism and save face? For the families of Hannah and David, the court's verdict may have brought a conclusion, but not the truth. Meanwhile, on Seri Beach tonight, the bass is thumping. Thousands of new 20-year-olds will paint their bodies in neon. They will drink from plastic buckets. They will laugh. They will fall in love. They are dancing on a graveyard. Most have never heard the names Witheridge or Miller. They don't know the sand beneath their feet has been washed clean of blood, again and again. Here, ignorance isn't just bliss, it's part of the business model. Koh Tao remains paradise. Turquoise water, perfect sunsets, total freedom. But the island demands a blood tax. It lures you in with a promise and leaves you asking what freedom really costs. This didn't begin as a mystery, or a file, or a headline. It began as someone who was loved. Hannah Witheridge was 23, a photographer, a sister, a daughter who loved the ocean and sent postcards home. David Miller was 24, quiet, kind, someone who saved his money for this trip because he believed the world was mostly good. Dimitri Povse was 29, a young man with a laugh friends said lit up a room. He loved cooking for people, bringing others together around a table, and was saving for a big trip through Asia. Elise Dallemagne was an artist at heart, her mother said. Kind, curious, always sketching in her notebook, dreaming of places she wanted to paint. She had booked that ticket home because she couldn't wait to see her family again. They were not symbols, they were not statistics, they were lives. Interrupted, this story ends here. But the question doesn't, because somewhere else, in another time, 2 children were taken from a field, not by violence in the dark, but by a system that learned how to smile while it stole. A different kind of island, a different kind of cage, same silence, same price. So stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, paradise is not always peaceful. Sometimes it just learns how to hide its graves.